Hey kiddies, it's Terrible Triple Feature time once again, and we are still knee deep in October. I have watched at least 10 horror movies. I know, I'm slacking off, but I have to work. It's a shame about being a grown-up. This week, we're going to be looking at what I like to consider the almost Tales from the Crypt movies. Tales from the Crypt was an anthology horror series produced for HBO in the late 80s, early to mid 90s. And it was a really good time because every week you could count on the three B's: boobs, blood, and bad puns by my personal hero, the Crypt Keeper. Trying to capitalize on the series' success, the producers of the show, which included like Walter Hill, Robert Zemeckis, Richard Donner, Joel Silver, among others, tried to make a bunch of movies. They planned to make three, and eventually they did. They made Demon Knight, which didn't do too well, so they had the genius idea of having Dennis Miller fight vampire prostitutes in a bordello of blood. And when that didn't, capture the cultural zeitgeist either, they kind of let the thing go fallow. Eventually, a movie called Ritual was released, which was originally supposed to be a Tales from the Crypt movie, but then was released as not, and then they decided, for nostalgia's sake, to put back in the Crypt Keeper segments, thus making it another Tales from the Crypt movie. None of these movies are on today's triple feature. The movies that are on today's triple feature are movies that sort of were supposed to be Tales from the Crypt movies or presupposed them because they were made by people that had worked on the series or were produced by it or just peripherally. Our menu includes Buried Alive, Death Becomes Her, and The Frighteners. Now, with Buried Alive, normally I try to avoid including made-for-television productions on the triple feature, but it was a movie made for TV, made for the USA Network, back when USA made an awful lot of movies for themselves. It was kind of weird. This one we're going to allow because of the people that made it. Frank Darabont of Shawshank and The Walking Dead TV show fame and The Mist, wrote and directed this one for USA. Frank Darabont worked on a couple of episodes of the Tales from the Crypt as a writer, and thematically, the movie is very much in keeping with an episode of Tales from the Crypt. We have a bored married couple or bored married wife, an affair, murder, and then elaborate supernatural revenge. Helping to elevate the material higher than just being made for TV fodder is the cast. You have Tim Matheson as our main character, a construction company owner who is betrayed by his wife, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, and her lover, played by William Atherton, Walter Peck. And rounding out the cast is our sheriff, played by Hoyt Axton from Gremlins. Jennifer Jason Leigh and William Atherton arranged to poison Tim Matheson in such a way that it won't look like poison, and then they bury him in the cheapest, shoddiest coffin known to man. Unfortunately, the poison was so under the radar that it didn't actually kill him, and thus he was buried alive, as the title says. And because the coffin was so shoddy, he was able to pound his way out of it, a la The Bride in Kill Bill Volume 2. From there, he sort of rebuilds his house as a moving labyrinth and/or maze that he traps his adulterous wife and her lover in, and proceeds with his elaborate, bizarre revenge. And again, it's made for TV, but it's Frank Darabont made for TV, so it's actually pretty damn good. It moves at a good pace. Because it's edited for commercials, there's always something happening with every segment, but it's really a lot of fun. Death Becomes Her, directed by Robert Zemeckis. And Robert Zemeckis was one of the developers of the original Tales from the Crypt TV show, and his production credit is on all of the real Tales from the Crypt movies and the TV show. He directed quite a few of them, actually, because... And Tales from the Crypt is just a lot of fun. And Death Becomes Her is very much in keeping with it, while also being a very special effects heavy Robert Zemeckis film. It's just, you don't see him do too many just out and out horror movies. The only other time he really makes like a really out and out scary one, I think, was What Lies Beneath, where he does his special effecty homage to Alfred Hitchcock pictures. But Death Becomes Her is about Meryl Streep, who is an aging actress who of questionable talent, who is living in a failed marriage with a plastic surgeon turned mortician, Bruce Willis. There's a lot of great makeup effects with aging them up before the really goofy shit starts happening. Like, really pay attention to just how schlubby Bruce looks, and Meryl is like a lot saggier, but then she gets this miraculous formula that returns her to her youth, just around the same time that Goldie Hawn, a friend from their past and Bruce Willis's ex-lover, comes into the picture. And once again, we have planned murders and elaborate revenge. What sets this one apart is winking, unabashed silliness of the film. I included this one in an earlier triple feature, Bruce Willis starring in live-action cartoons, because in a lot of ways, once Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn go after each other, it gets very slapstick, over-the-top Three Stooges, but with two live-action characters that can't die, and it's really a lot of fun. It's funny. It's got Isabella Rossellini in it. The special effects are impressive for the day. This is one of the few really special effecty movies that Meryl Streep did, and she swore never to do another one again because of just a lot of technical acting, which got in the way of the more emotional, fun acting. Whereas Goldie Hawn seemed to have, fonder memories of it, even though Meryl Streep left her with a facial scar from the fight. But that one... It's weird that it wasn't a Tales from the Crypt movie because it came out in the 90s, kind of around the time that the show was at its height. But it's very much in the vein of gallows humor, monster movie / EC Comics, petty revenge. And as an added bonus, if nothing else, the Sidney Pollack scene where Meryl Streep has died and Bruce Willis takes her to the hospital, and Sidney Pollack is the doctor assigned to take a look at her. And when he realizes that, medically speaking, she is not alive, even though she is moving, his reactions really are funny. He almost steals the show for like 10 whole minutes, and it's like this nothing part, but Steve Pollack, the great director / actor, he won the Academy Award, I believe, for Out of Africa with Robert Redford and Meryl Streep. And as always, I mean, Bruce Willis, Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, you really can't go wrong with this movie. Finally, we have Peter Jackson's The Frighteners. This was developed actually by Peter Jackson and his wife / writing partner / production partner, Fran Walsh, on their own, and then they brought it to Zemeckis to be a Tales from the Crypt movie. This was supposed to be like, after Bordello of Blood. And Zemeckis he was going to direct it himself for the Tales from the Crypt franchise, but then he really got the feeling that Peter Jackson was the man for the job. Peter Jackson, up until this point, had done predominantly gory movies with Bad Taste, Meet the Feebles, and The Incredible Dead Alive. And the only serious movie he did was Heavenly Creatures, which is an impressive dramatic film with Kate Winslet and Melanie Linsky. But it has its gory and fantastic elements. So Zemeckis trusted Jackson and his recently developed Weta special effects company to do this movie soup to nuts. And he does, and it's nothing short of astonishing. It's important to note that, or to look at this movie as not just a great horror movie with comedic elements in it, but also as the test run for the Lord of the Rings films. If you look at it, every type of special effect that Peter Jackson and company would rely on in the Lord of the Rings trilogy was kind of troubleshot in this one. The film stars Michael J. Fox as Frank Bannister, an ex-architect turned psychic con man. He is an actual psychic, but no, the ghosts aren't haunting you except to the extent that he asks them to, so he can trick you into giving them money to get rid of them. The ghost being played by the always incredible Chi McBride and Jim Fife, who I remember Jim Fife fondly as the co-host on Dr. Fad with Dr. Fad, but very little else. But I got a big kick when I saw that it was him. And they're also joined by the wonderful John Astin, the original Gomez Adams as the judge. And these three ghosts help Frank Bannister con people out of money up until what seems to be the Grim Reaper comes around, killing a lot of people and pinning it on Frank, and things get out of hand. The special effects are really good, and they 90s special effects movies get a bad rap because of the CGI used in it, but this is Weta in its early stages, so it's still a cut above the rest, and it holds up pretty well. The movie itself is probably just a hair too long. There's just it's not necessarily that the movie drags, it's just there's so much story in it that it seems to go on longer than a conventional movie of the same nature. But it's because we have so many wonderful characters. You got Trini Alvarado playing the recent widow / love interest for Michael J. Fox. You got friggin' Dee Wallace as the a former psychopath sidekick. Troy Evans as the beleaguered sheriff. And the always awesome, I love him so much, Jeffrey Combs plays FBI agent Dammers with his pseudo-Hitler haircut and penchant for oddball cases. Basically, think of Fox Mulder without the good looks or social skills. Peter has a great little cameo. Walking up the street, he literally bumps into Michael J. Fox. Arlie Ermy sort of reprises his role as Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. I don't think they call him that, but he's the ghost of Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. And, I mean, it's Arlie Ermy, so it's just, what more do you want? And it's an incredible technical achievement. It's probably the least Tales from the Crypty in that, while Michael J. Fox's Frank Bannister is a bit scumbaggy, you can sort of tell he's going to be a hero all along, whereas in a good Tales from the Crypt, there aren't really good guys. There are only people that haven't fucked over somebody else yet. But either way, I always think of these films as movies that could have been Tales from the Crypt episodes or actual Tales from the Crypt movies. Buried Alive, or Frank Darabont's Buried Alive, Robert Zemeckis' Death Becomes Her, and Peter Jackson's The Frighteners. All these movies would work for Halloween October viewing, so please continue. Feel free to keep me updated on what you guys are watching. I'm posting every horror movie I watch with a good big list coming for the end of the month. And I'll see you next week, hopefully with some surprise guest stars. So, see you next week.